Debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden just wrapped up. So I'm going to do a quick video just going over my thoughts of the presidential debate, going over what I think happened, what I think the narrative coming out of this debate is, and how things I think are going to shake out over the next few days or so. So the first thing I want to say is there's no other way to say this. Joe Biden had a very terrible night. Out from the very beginning, where Biden walked out onto the stage, the very few minutes of the first part of the debate, Biden looked frail, he looked confused, he looked completely out of it. He just did not look ready to debate one bit. And I'll give Biden a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but not that it's warranted, because his performance tonight was absolutely terrible. There were instances in the past of the incumbent president usually doing bad in the first debate because they don't prepare as much. They're the president of the United States. What do they have to prepare for? They've been doing the job. I remember this being talked about in 2012 when Mitt Romney was able to beat Barack Obama in the first debate. And so that's just something I wanted to point out because there is historical precedent for that. But not when it comes to Joe Biden's performance tonight. This was nothing like a past presidential performance. Biden did not look mentally aware that a debate was even going on. He just did not look like he was up for it. Numerous times during the debate, Biden had trouble speaking. He stumbled on his words. He stumbled putting sentences together. He would have long, awkward pauses where he'd be trying to say something. He would just stop. He would look. He would freeze, he would look up, he would look down, he would close his eyes. It was just all around a big mess for President Biden, and there's no way to dance around that. He did not look good. There was also more than a few times where Biden would bring up subjects or facts or stories not at all related to the thing he was talking about, or he would get the facts of those stories completely wrong and have nothing to do with the subject he was talking about. I wouldn't say that's the biggest end of the world if he didn't have already such a hard time with speaking and kind of keeping his facts and figures straight. But all of these things together just did not look good. And just frankly, just to think if someone doesn't pay attention to politics and this is the first time they've watched Joe Biden really speak for a long time. You know, like people, they get home from work, they finally have some free time, and they finally have time to pay attention and watch this. Biden was hard to understand, and it was uncomfortable at times. It was uncomfortable to watch him stumble and make mistakes and not be able to stick with it. It was uncomfortable and difficult to understand. I can't think of a better way to think of it. Biden just did not look good. This is the worst. I was thinking in his past debates and performances, both with Trump in 2020 and his Democratic rivals, this is the worst I've ever seen President Biden do in a debate or in any public setting. I mean, Biden, when he gives a speech, there's always a gaffe or two on the news. And, like, whether it's a big part of his speech or not, there's always a few gaffes. This one was pretty much a walking gaffe the whole time. This is the worst I've ever seen President Biden. And he didn't really look like the President of the United States. This is if you looked at Joe Biden from 2016... I'm not going to lie, I could be like, yeah, I could see him being the president of the United States. The way he talks, the coolness of his persona he kind of carries around. This Biden is like a shell of himself from 2016, and even worse than he was in 2020, which there are already concerns about Biden in 2020, what kind of mental space he was in then. This did not look like a good performance at him at all. Going into number 2, Biden scared a lot of Democrats tonight. A lot. So much so that I was watching a few panels after the debate on CNN and NBC, and numerous panelists and anchors were agreed that Biden had a terrible night, were outright saying it, and said there were a lot of Democratic insiders and politicians, governors, senators, people in the Democratic Party that were terrified and panicking over Biden's performance and questioning whether or not he had the stamina to do this for another 4 years. And there are even some, I know this one I can mention specifically, Van Jones on CNN mentioned that as much as he likes Joe Biden, it's a worthy conversation of seeing if they can get another Democratic candidate instead of Biden. That's how bad of a performance Biden had tonight. He's terrifying people who worked in Obama-Biden White House, who spent more time around President Biden and President Obama, Biden's performance is scaring off people who worked in him in President Obama's White House. It doesn't matter how you write it, how you frame it, how you shake it. That is not good. And you know what? I think Biden had a very low bar for this debate, but the main question that needed to be asked, could Biden have the stamina to stick with President Trump, potentially win, and be president for another 4 years? That answer was a big, fat no. He couldn't stick with President Trump, and he could not stick with having the physical or mental appearance of being a good president or even being a president for the next 4 years. It did not appear to be that way. Maybe now, if the second debate that's scheduled between Trump and Biden does happen, I believe that's in the fall. I want to say it's either in October or August or September. I think it's in August, but I could be wrong about that. If maybe Biden has a bounce back performance, maybe some of these fears go away. But at least tonight, Biden did not look like he's someone that could be president for another 4 years. Maybe even for another 4 months. It did not look good. And there is so much widespread agreement across news media outlets that just how bad of a night that Joe Biden had, and that he does not seem like the type of person who's even capable of putting a sentence together, let alone defeating Donald Trump. I've never seen in the last 8 years the news media so agreed on something as they have on Biden had an awful performance tonight. Now going to number 3, this is where I did notice some disagreement in the media. Trump 100% won the debate. There were some comments made about on the mainstream media panel trying to, I think, lessen the blow of Biden a little bit by saying that Trump did not have a good night either and that he was lying or making things up, or specifically pertaining to the 2020 election or a lot of claims he made about immigration stuff. I don't buy that for 1 second. I think that's a little bit of their Democratic personal views and bias showing through a little bit. Trump 100% won this debate. Of the two of them, Trump did what he had to do and honestly seemed the more alert, aware, and presidential of the two candidates. Something that if you told that Trump seemed more presidential, more calm, more stable, if you said that back in 2016 or even 2020, you either would have been laughed at or gotten a lot of strange looks. But this Trump tonight, of course, he had his moments where he started name-calling Biden, called him the worst president ever. He had the statement where he said, along the lines of Biden doesn't know what he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm not even sure if Biden knows he's here, if he knows what he's talking about. Those are, of course, classic Trump lines and classic Trump insults. But Trump was overall more alert, more calm and collected, and actually, I kind of think lashed out more than Biden, which is surprising because, I mean, of course, Trump's clips are going to get more attention than Biden's, but there was a lot of instances of Biden getting mad and going after Trump and name-calling him. And, of course, I'm not saying that's a problem. I think that in the course of the debate's probably going to get heated, especially between these two candidates. They faced off last time. It's definitely going to be heated, but Biden actually at times seemed more nasty in his insults. Trump, using his personality, kind of used it in a more, insulting but also humorous way to it. Biden's kind of just came off to me as desperate, because I think this whole debate was Trump was clearly winning the debate and Biden was desperate to try and make up for it and keep up, and that just didn't happen. Trump was more alert, he seemed more competent, and the one that I think matters the most, Trump seemed more presidential than Biden, which I think was Trump's number one goal. He wanted to come in here and prove to people, not to Trump's voters, I think Trump's voters will vote for him pretty much no matter what. He wanted to prove to a lot of voters in the middle and people who aren't sure if they like Biden or like Trump, who do they vote for, they're really not sure. I think he wanted to show people that you may not like me, but at very least I'm a lot more fit to do the job than the other guy is. And I think Trump seemed a little more presidential in that way. Even after the whole golf situation at the end of the debate, Trump said, let's not argue like children. Now, it could just be, Trump being funny or making a joke, but the fact that he even said that, I don't think that's something Trump would have done in 2016 or 2020. So I think Trump is actually showing he's more serious this time. And Trump had a moment during the debate where he mentioned the fact that he wished Biden was doing a good job as president. Where he wished there's a lot of other things Trump would rather be doing than running for president again. Now, Whether Trump actually meant that, whether he was saying that as a way just to seem sincere, I'm not totally sure. But at least in the moment, it certainly came off as sincere. With all the lawsuits Trump's facing, which he accused Biden of because of him being his political opponent, Trump sounded very sincere when he said he wished that Biden was a good president and he didn't have to run again. And you know what? I think that actually may help a lot of voters in showing a more sincere side of Trump. One that they've been told over and over again does not exist, either by Biden or the media or the Democrats, or even some Republicans who are never Trump who don't like Trump. Trump definitely had some shining moments in this debate that I think more so than he ever had in 2016 or 2020. The more I talk, I just think Trump won this debate fair and square, hands down, and I can't really think of another way to sum this debate up than saying Trump won. And again, I mentioned the news media's panelists at the beginning trying to discredit Trump in this debate. I don't see it at all. I mean, that's, I think, their own vacuum chamber of pro-democratic policies and people. I think Trump won this debate hands down. That being said, I've just praised Trump for at least a few minutes now. I will say this. I do think Trump actually still has the capacity to do better than he did in this debate. If I was to give Biden and Trump a grade, I think Trump got somewhere around a B plus to A minus range of the debate. He did good. I think this is the best Trump has ever done in a debate in terms of looking presidential and trying to do the part. I think is what he did tonight. That being said, there are still a few minor things I think Trump can fix. The biggest gripe I have with Trump on a lot of it was he stopped short of answering a lot of the questions and answering them in full. He used a lot of general terms and saying things like, believe me, this happens all over the place. Trump has always talked like this. It's just a minor thing that kind of bugs me a little bit because Biden, I think, at times tried to use more specific policy examples and stumbled delivering them. Trump just didn't cite specific policy examples a lot of the time. Like, he would say he had the best economy ever, but wouldn't cite examples of where. Like, he could have cited on gas prices, on oil production, on the stock market. There's a lot of things Trump could have cited. Maybe he cited the stock market a few times, but he wasn't very specific on that. And I think had Trump gone into specifics about how he said his economy was the best ever, or how he got insulin prices down, if he went into a little bit more specifics, I think that actually would have benefited him a little bit more. Not the biggest deal, because I still think Trump won and Trump did a very good job, but just these little things I think could help a little bit more winning over a lot of undecided voters and showing potential people who maybe are inclined to listen to the so-called fact checkers that Trump is maybe a bit more on top of his game with specific policies than just his usual rhetoric and talking. Another thing that Trump did during the debate that just bugs me a little bit was that Trump would stop during his sentences and kind of just keep jump to the next thing really quick. I think a lot of this had to do with they only gave at maximum the candidate 2 minutes to talk. So you have to squeeze a lot of information in, not a lot of time. So you're going to talk fast, you're going to ramble a bit. And that's not really a problem for Trump. Trump kind of already talks in a very fast moving, persona type of way. So it's not really, that wasn't a problem for Trump. But it's just a little confusing on TV, maybe with the 2 minute delay, but it's a little confusing to try and keep up for me. And I'm someone who's been keeping up with politics for a long time now. It could be difficult for someone who is not always caught up with politics and is kind of seeing this for the first time to kind of keep up with everything Trump is saying. But again, there's not really much he can do about this, or Biden for that matter, because they only have 2 minutes or a minute for a rebuttal. There's not really much he can do. But it's just something I wish in a perfect world that Trump would be able to kind of slow things down, explain things out a little slower, and use a little bit more figures and details to back up his statements. So that was my number 4. Number 5, and just to back up, just so you know I'm not making this up out of thin air, there's a flash poll CNN did where they do the panels and the polls following the debate of who they think won the debate. CNN, very liberal network, has been anti-Trump since the very beginning. 67% said Trump won the debate, 33% said Biden won the debate. And I'm going to be serious, and I'm also going to be funny here. One, I would love to know who the 33% are who said Biden won the debate. And I would love to know how they came to that conclusion, because what do they see that I didn't? I mean, I think that could just be very loyal Biden voters who are just can't cope with the loss that Biden had tonight, would be my guess. But the fact that a liberal network with a lot of Democratic watchers, no doubt, said Trump won the debate, that I think that tells you all you need to know about Biden's performance tonight. But yeah, I would love to know what these 33% are. Maybe if some of you are watching are that 33%, why don't you leave a comment below, tell me why you thought Biden won this debate, because it is certainly a mystery to me. So that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed my analysis of this video, please give a like on the video, because I did put a lot of time and a lot of notes into it. So I'd really appreciate it if you were able to like the video. And if you like this and want to watch more of my videos, if you can click the subscribe button down below as well and tap the little bell icon and set the notifications on where you'll always get notified when I post a new video. I'd really greatly appreciate that if you did that as well. So that will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.